before this, I was chuckling because I read an article that North Korea got its first case of COVID, which is not believable that that's the first and only case of COVID.
Yeah, that sounds like bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read the entire story of how they're reporting it?
Yeah, that it was somebody that fled North Korea to South Korea 3 years ago and snuck back in the country and brought COVID with them.
Right. So that right there is probably the first line of bullshit, because if you're sneaking out of North Korea, you're not fucking coming back. You're done. You're not trying to sneak out of North Korea to, go out, have a little bit of enjoyment, and then get right back in. You're trying to get the fuck out of there for life, and then hope to God they don't find you with some kind of strange spy and then murder you.
Yeah, didn't that guy that escaped, I don't know, a couple of years ago get shot up as he was running for the border, and they had to take a ton of bullets out of him, and he had I feel like he had some weird worm. He was sick, had all of these ailments, and then he also got shot up as he was fleeing for the border.
Yeah.
So I don't think those kinds of people are going to be running back.
Yeah. He got all those things. That's rough. That's awful. That just goes to show the type of life that those people live. If that guy had he had several tapeworms in him. So that's awful.
Sad. Very sad.
Yeah.
Also was looking at the news before this, and saw that Kanye West went to the hospital. I guess he showed up at a hospital in Wyoming and he felt uncomfortable, so he went back to the ranch. I guess he got an ambulance sent out to the ranch, and there's the shot of the ambulance sitting in the driveway, and he's taking off on his ATV. So
wait, so Kanye, there's a video of Kanye on an ATV?
It's not video, it's a picture.
Oh, okay.
And he's literally going the other direction in his ATV.
Holy shit.
So I don't know what that's about. Somebody get that man some help.
Fuck.
It's not even funny. He's clearly having a mental break right now. He went ham on Twitter all week, basically accusing his wife and family of racism, and saying that he's been trying to divorce her for years, and basically insinuating that he's unable to because of her momager, and I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, he claimed that he wanted to divorce her ever since she met with Meek Mill in a hotel to talk about prison reform. Right. And then he was calling it out as if his wife cheated on him.
Stupid.
Man.
Stupid. I would definitely cheat on your ass, Kanye. He's crazy, man. I'm sorry, but he's a loon, and I was telling John this because I don't give a shit about the Kardashians. I will painfully admit that I do wear Kim Kardashian's line of undergarments. I do. She has the best t-shirt bra that I've ever worn before. But, I think it's good quality and I like it. So whatever. But I actually feel bad for her for this, because I remember years ago it came out that he suffers from bipolar disorder. And I think he's definitely had multiple episodes. We've seen these before. And you have no control over a grown-ass man. She has no right to do anything. He's got to try to get help for himself. And so it's really sad to see somebody unravel like this in the public eye, because think about his children. He straight up just told the world that they were going to abort their oldest daughter. That's going to mess with her.
Yeah, she's definitely going to feel that when she's older.
Yeah, and then all of this aftermath of the craziness between her parents, people are going to be like, hey, remember when your dad went fucking nuts? It's kind of sad, even though they have all the money in the world, and they have all the privilege in the world, and I'm sure they'll grow up, great, but that's really sad.
Yeah. Kanye, at that rally, and talking about Harriet Tubman, and talking about just the crazy shit that they were already talking about, putting him in a mental hospital for years, and he's been trying to fight that. Yeah, he cries whenever he talks about that abortion story. He starts breaking down, and it's funny. This is the only part that's somewhat funny. This woman is videotaping him, supporting him as she's videotaping him, and then he says the Harry Tubman thing, which is something along the lines of, Harry Tubman never freed slaves. What she did was she just took slaves and passed them over to another slave owner, and the person who's videotaping is clearly a black woman, and she says, "Okay, let's get the fuck out of here." And it's so funny.
Oh my God.
It's so funny.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's the only funny part. And like you said, it's the overall thing about him. It's not funny because he really is having a public mental breakdown and is dealing with some shit that he probably should be maintaining some kind of hardcore therapy on, or probably taking medication for. And I'm actually not fully in support of most people taking medication, but for him, he seems to have a real chemical imbalance.
There are some people that should be medicated.
Yeah.
I'm also not all for solving the problem with medication first, but there are some people, we know a few, that I think could use it, and that's okay. If you are that out of balance to where it is destructive in your life, this man has all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And he's making a mess of his life. Some people say it's a PR stunt. I'm sorry. I don't think this is a PR stunt. I think he's had too many episodes of these types of episodes, and I don't know. It's bad. I think he's truly having a mental break.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, like, when I think about it, I'm like, Jesus. I've just totally told Jean this before. I take on a lot, and we don't really talk about work at home. I just don't want to bring that into home. Obviously, with COVID, we've been around one another a lot, like, all throughout the day. So maybe Jean gets a little more of my work life than he normally does, but I try to keep it to myself or, like, talk amongst coworkers. But there have been times where I'm like, Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm 2 steps away from a mental break. Like, I am so overwhelmed and exhausted. I'm done with people's bullshit. It's a lot to handle sometimes. So that's why I feel very sympathetic towards those that can't handle some things. So I don't find it funny or entertaining. I don't think it's a PR stunt. I think it's sad. Yeah. And I think if the man with all the money in the world and all the support in the world can't get his shit together and needs mental health, I think there's a lot of us that do.
Yeah. Although you don't do a labor-intensive job, the job that you do is mentally intensive, and a lot of other people who do technology-based jobs or, just jobs where they're maybe behind a desk, or in front of a computer, or managing a ton of stuff remote with a bunch of different teams all over the country, simultaneous projects. That's rough. You'd go through some serious mental gauntlets.
Yeah. True. And I haven't broken yet, so there's a time for everything, folks. We'll see if my time's coming up after Kanye.
I'm sure you have a lot to say about this next topic, which is Ted Yoho and AOC. First off, I just want to say nobody knew who the fuck this Ted Yoho guy was before this instance, and AOC has gotten tons of public pressure through her entire campaign, roll up into her actually becoming a congresswoman, being a congresswoman. The entire time, she's had tons of public pressure and scrutiny, and this jackass doesn't have any public. Nobody really knows who the fuck he is, probably besides even his constituents. And now this, so I'm sure you want to talk about this pretty heavily.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to dignify her with saying her name, since we're doing that with Ted. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez dealt with some big bullshit this week, that if you're a female and you've ever been in any type of working environment, you've probably dealt with something like this. So basically what happened is this Ted schmomo guy, whatever the fuck. Because you're right, I didn't know who he was. I'm pissed that people even know who he is now, but it seems like people are taking action. But basically, they got into it in the steps. Like, he was walking down, she was walking up to go put a vote in, and he told her that she was freaking losing her mind for saying that crime in New York has gone up because of job loss related to the pandemic. And he also called her disgusting to her face. So she told him that what did she say? He was out of line.
You're out of line. Yeah.
No, he was being rude. That's what she told him. Yeah. You're being rude. And so as he walks off, there's a reporter in their midst. Apparently he calls her a fucking bitch. Now, he says that he muttered, his camp came out and said that, no, he muttered bullshit under his breath. I can tell you from my own personal experience in life, there's no fucking way he didn't say that. Because I have been around so many men, sorry, but I have, that when they don't get their way and they don't like to argue with me and they're getting defensive because I'm perhaps a dominant female, I know that. I've totally been called a fucking bitch before over petty ass shit. And I'm like, whoa, strangers in a bar who have come up, tried to hit on me, and I'm like, hey, thanks, but, I don't need a drink. Thanks so much. I'm actually nice about things. And then they're aggressive. And then I'm like, hey, I'm married. I don't need a drink. I'm just here with my friend. And they're like, wow, you fucking bitch. And they go off on me. And so I get this from strangers over nothing, where I'm like, what the fuck makes you think it's okay to call me a fucking bitch because you didn't get your way? It's disgusting. Won't even go to work stuff. I'm not anymore at this point in my career, but early on in my career, I've definitely been called names. I've definitely been grumbled at, had people call me names under their breath, have people just say things to me that is like, do you think that's appropriate? I have never once in my life, never once lost my cool. I have never accidentally dropped the F-bomb in a meeting. I have never called anybody a name. I've never raised my voice. I've never yelled. I am 100% professional at work. So the fact that this shithead, one, isn't maintaining just a social decency and respect for his colleagues, disgusting. You're fucking out, man. Two, the fact that he thinks it's okay to call a woman that he disagrees with as disgusting, losing your freaking mind, and a fucking bitch. That's despicable. Despicable behavior. And if that was me at my work setting, I would have gone straight to HR and gotten his ass fired.
Yeah, it is disgusting. And I personally I like that the way that she called it out was to approach the Senate floor with it, and she went through the proper routines. She didn't go out and talk to a bunch of media. She instead made her claim on the Senate floor and essentially gave an example of that this guy whose youngest daughter has multiple daughters, is married. Youngest daughter is still a couple years older than AOC, and basically left it at, just because you have a daughter doesn't make you a decent man.
Just because you're married and have daughters.
Yeah.
Just because you have a wife and have daughters doesn't make you a decent man.
Yeah.
And hats off to her. I have said that a million times. I can't tell you the kinds of people that I've met that are supposedly good Christians, with good family, good Christians. They do everything the right way. And behind closed doors, they're fucking shitheads and they do horrible things. Yeah. This is just another example of a person that likes to live their life for the public eye, or for others around them to think that they're good people. But what comes out beneath when they don't get their way and they get in a tense situation, a big fucking baby calling a young girl a fucking bitch. Absolutely despicable. That man should be ashamed of himself. That's disgusting. That is your place of work.
Yeah.
And you're doing that shit. And this is the kind of representation that we have in Washington. Fuck no. I'll pass.
It is disgusting. conveniently, he steps down from the chairman board of the, Congressional Christians, blah, blah, blah. Conveniently.
Well, they asked for his resignation, actually. It wasn't convenient. They asked for his resignation because they said he does not stand for what we believe in and how we want to be represented.
That's good.
It is good.
Because you know what? The way it's being reported to some publications, it may have been that I ran into more conservative publications whenever I was looking at this, but it essentially said that he resigned.
Oh, they brought up his non-apology.
That's good.
Because he said something like, I'm not going to apologize for my passion and my beliefs or something. I remember passion was the specific thing. And I'm like, passion? You're passionate about calling young women fucking bitches?
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, and they've said, called out his non-apology. So kudos to them.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit for that. I wish there was more alignment on just straight up decency on that kind of stuff, and that the Republican Party would just say, you know what, we don't believe this is good. I haven't heard a single Republican come out and say, I'm disgusted. How out of any of them? I'm actually even surprised that Mitt Romney hasn't even come out, who usually backs putting pressure on Republicans.
Yeah, because his moral turpitude, he's the guy that left his fucking dog tied to the roof on a family vacation. And I know I reference that every time you bring up that asshole, but I will never forget that. Anybody that just ties their dog's kennel to the fucking roof of a car and thinks that's okay, psychopath.
That is weird.
Yes, it is. So, yeah, I'm not surprised he hasn't spoke out on it. Jesus God. I can't with these fucking people anymore. And you know what I would like to say? Listen, I'm a registered Democrat. Used to be an independent, but my social views tie too closely with the Democratic Party, even though I think they have done a great injustice to minorities, but that's neither here nor there. I would like to think if that was a Democratic senator who did this, that the Democratic Party would rake him over the coals. But with the way things have gone with Biden, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I just don't. I think it's complete bullshit that the Democrats have essentially given Biden a pass and just said, we believe him at his word. However, whenever it came to something they had less proof on, they totally said, no. This is the woman's word.
Yeah. What happened to believe her?
And he can deny all he wants, but this is the woman's word. And
I'm
talking about Kavanaugh. I mean,
baby, but that's not what they said. They didn't say, this is the woman's word. They said, we believe all victims.
That's true.
Now, it sounds a little silly. We believe victims. We're going to take her at her word because we believe victims. Okay. Well, why the fuck didn't you believe Biden's victims? And why didn't you put more time and effort into it? And it's great for them because the pandemic had totally took away from him and what little attention he got on that. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it went away after he goes on MSNBC once, gets pressured by a female anchor, and is basically at that point absolved of everything just because he adds some public acknowledgement at that point, but then says he completely denies it, gives zero proof, gets zero understanding about what she feels about it, and that was it.
Listen, the DNC is just as... Sorry, unpopular opinion, but I don't give a shit. The DNC is just as bad as the Republican Party now. That they've had several chances to redeem themselves. They've given me a shit candidate that's a fucking pervert and probably to an extent some sort of sexual harasser. I don't know because people haven't looked into it. It's bullshit.
What do you think about his mental capacity?
Oh, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's a shit candidate. He's going to go up there and Trump's going to wipe the floor with him because Trump's going to go, this guy, da, da, da. He is so good at distracting from people, and they're going to see big Mac Daddy Trump up there. This is what the Republicans will think. Oh, yeah, that's Trump. He do good. He do good speeches.
Yeah.
They're just going to fucking worship him. And because he's going to call him out on every flub, and he's going to make him look like a fucking idiot. It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, he's going to he really is wipe the floor with him.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough.
Yeah, but what other choice do I have? Because I'm not voting for Trump.
So I guess now that Elon Musk is no longer reaching out to everybody trying to sell Bitcoin, he made a statement essentially saying that he is against stimulus bill coming out.
Right, which, okay, here's the thing. He said that if we are to provide money to citizens, it should be in direct payment to them because there's too much rolled up in those bills, which I definitely agree with that. But also, bruh, you made so much money off of Tesla stock during this pandemic. So it's not like I'm really wanting to hear tips and insights from a guy who's so out of touch with how most of the country is living right now.
Yeah, I do get that, and I like that you clarified what he said because it's true. He essentially was saying that people should just get that money directly, and I heard a number that is interesting, and I don't know if this number is like totally factual, but it's by an intelligent guy that said it. He said that we've spent in the last 4 months, we as in the government, a little over $12 trillion. And he said with that money, and that goes to, you know how like in the last major big stimulus thing, the thing that sent out the about, $1,200 worth of stimulus check to each individual. That was a small percentage of the overall stimulus package of what it was. A lot of it went out to support causes and specific things that were, honestly, probably for the people that a lot of these politicians are lobbied by. And what happened there is if that was around $12 trillion in addition to, paying off the airlines and all that stuff, which they're still doing layoffs regardless, all of that, a little over $12 trillion. The individual who gave that number said that would essentially be the equivalent of everybody getting last year's paychecks completely and getting it now fully paid for this year, and then in addition even some money left over. So that's pretty fucked up. If that is the truth and that really is how it rolls, then yeah, maybe we should just fucking get payments directly.
Well, duh, yeah. I mean, this is the second round. Like, of course, if Americans are not struggling, they should get it directly. But I also don't want to take fucking tips from Elon Musk because you know my opinion of him and his goddamn tweeting. So I'll pass, brah. Yeah, I agree. But also go hang out with your X12 Infinity Child's whatever his name is. I'm so tired of really rich, out of touch people telling the world how it should be. Like, okay, great. Well, then use your fucking money to do something better about it. How about that? You don't like what the government's doing? Again, I also agree with what he's saying, but if you have such strong opinions about how Americans should be financially helped, I don't know. Why don't you take your buku of bucks and start something? Give back to the community. Give back to those who have been impacted. But I bet he won't.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't.
No, of course he won't. That's how all these rich assholes are. Like, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I do see his point in what he's saying about all that earmarked shit that gets added onto it.
Yeah. But also, how about you fucking give up some of your money and be helpful instead of just tweeting?
Yeah.
If I had that kind of money, and he made like billions.
Did he?
Yeah. That's what I read.
I don't think that's accurate.
Google it.
Yeah, I will.
No, Google it now. Because I don't really care, first of all, how much he made. He has money. He could help. I've definitely read The Blinds, and for those of you that don't know what Blind is, it's an app that all of the people that work in tech, basically you can sign in with your company email, and then You never get contacted again. They just want to validate that you're an actual employee of whatever tech company. And they have it for other corporations, but it's really for people in tech. But I guess there's finance people too and marketing people. But you sign in and you read all the anonymous posts and boards about, you know, what is your work life like at Google or Facebook or Tesla or PayPal, you know. And I got to say, Tesla employees post some horrendous stories.
Like what?
Horrible work-life balance. Horrible work-life balance. Not getting compensated for working insane hours, like for the Model 3. They were basically told, like, you should be grateful for this job when they were working all around the clock.
Yeah, he sets unrealistic timelines, puts all the pressure on his team, and then at that point just says, you know what, we're just a little overly ambitious, and that's why we put these unrealistic pressures. We want to, you know, reach for the, you know, have the goal of landing on the moon, but then reach for the stars, you know, and I get that, and that is sometimes a good thing to be able to put an unattainable goal in order to get really as close as possible. But I'll tell you this, and I've read his biography. This is a guy who ruthlessly has no loyalty to his own team members. Even his most closest assistants who've been working with him for years, he has dropped. He's done those kind of things where he does not have somebody within his companies that has been with him for, you know, since the beginning.
Yeah, that's telling, Sean. And
that is extremely telling.
Anybody who knows business, listen, I know business. No, sorry. I know business. But like anybody who knows anything about business, when you're a publicly traded company, here's my issue with Elon Musk. When you are a publicly traded company, you're fucking with people's money when you do things like that. When you make tweets about Tesla and that it's going private, when you make tweets about the stock being overinflated, that fucks with people's money. And my problem with Tesla, or with Elon Musk, is that there's a lot of people that believe in Tesla, and it's not just rich people's money. There's a lot of people that probably bought stock for the first time in Tesla, and they never bought stock before because they believe in it as a mission. They do. And so you're fucking with people that believe in your company, and you're fucking with their money when you have so much money. So don't make ambitious, lofty goals that you're never going to reach. Don't keep doing that. Learn from it, grow from it, and start being more realistic. He doesn't need to be the leader of a company. He needs to be the leader of the creative aspect of it. Because, listen, I don't argue on that. He's a brilliant mind. Brilliant. Absolute genius. So let him do the genius stuff and put somebody else in charge of the business stuff.
Yeah, they said they would. As a part of the things that he got in trouble for, they actually said that they were going to put in someone else to be more of the business side and less of the creative and innovative side. And that never happened. He still continued to basically be the founder, the CEO, the spokesperson, all of that shit, the advocate, all of it. And he plays all the roles. And so there is some bullshit there. I did look up, you know, how much money he's made. And they do say that he, without a doubt, has made a substantial amount of money during the pandemic, and you know, so has Bezos.
55% increase in his overall wealth.
Yeah. They said that the Tesla stock has quadrupled, and you know they are saying that they're not totally certain that that's not just coincidence, that Tesla stock was actually aiming to ramp up due to the increased chances of profitability, and it being really good quarters since beginning of 2020. So they do believe that actually does have more to do with it than the pandemic.
Okay, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's still a shit vehicle. Sorry, I said it. Listen, I love Tesla, but they have very poor quality. Everybody I've known who's had a Tesla, like seriously, it's like the door handle's fucked up. The sealant on the window's fucked up. The screen goes out and they can't drive without the screen. What does Tesla say to the folks that we know with the car? Yeah, well, we don't have the part, so we don't know when we're going to be able to get it to you.
Yeah,
literally stranded in California. Literally could not leave for like 2 weeks, and Tesla couldn't give them a time frame for their part. That's crap for how much people pay for that vehicle. I think it's innovative. The technology behind it, 100. Amazing. Amazing. Very innovative. But I will not be putting my hard-earned money into a Tesla until they work their quality issues out.
Here's what's fucked up.
Probably ever, but
I totally agree with you. And majority of the issues you just called out are the things that you would think is the bread and butter of an automaker's assembly, right?
Sure.
And for some reason
they've
don't
got
have
it down pat.
But, right, but Tesla doesn't, because Tesla is more of a technology company than they are an automaker, and so that there is like some room there, but at the same time, you know, I can't give them enough credit, because the fact this is a consumer product that literally goes hundreds of miles per hour or over 100 miles per hour easily, and if it's not structured very well, that's a hazard.
Sure, but is that Elon's ego that doesn't have him partner or work with somebody from a well-known company, because he's fired multiple people that have worked in the car industry, or they've left. They've left. Is that from his ego and not perhaps listening to critiques on his car? I don't know, because that shit shouldn't be hard to figure out, especially with how many people are talented and knowing in that industry.
For sure. I totally agree with you on that. But I don't know. I there is something to say if majority of the people who do end up going out and find a competitor company, usually they try to copy a lot of his work. So there are some updates with Ghislaine Maxwell, and I know I have talked this fucking topic to death, and I only talk about it as much as I do because it is, I think, going to be the craziest shit that happens if this continues to snowball and continues to actually reveal itself. So there was a bunch of documents that they had basically sealed ever since the beginning of the 2000s, whenever Jeffrey Epstein was initially arrested for this stuff and was put in jail. They sealed a bunch of stuff, including depositions, including even videotapes, recordings of people inside their home. And they are now officially saying, as of Thursday, this past Thursday, that they are going to release that. And so now their lawyers on the Ghislaine Maxwell side have 1 week in order to be able to go in and defend the release of that information. So that means by Thursday or Friday, this shit could be unveiled, and it could be a whole slew of individuals that get fucking shamed. And it's going to be really fucking interesting. I mean, imagine the type of people that we've already seen, photographed with her, and we've, known there's associations with her and associations with Epstein. What the fuck are the specifics going to be like now? That's going to be real weird, because now it's going to be flight logs as well, actual videotapes of them, depositions of people who were called in on this stuff. This shit's going to get real weird if it gets released. It'd be real fucked up if her attorneys last minute block it. That would be kind of fucked up, because how can you block this? But we'll see. That'll be an interesting thing to bring up whenever all this shit does get revealed, if.
Yeah, I mean, sure, under the guise of her attorneys block it, but I'm sure they've got very powerful people putting their thumb on them saying, you need to make sure this doesn't get out. So use whatever legal options you have. Let's be real here.
Among the powerful people, did you hear what Trump said whenever he was asked
that he wishes her well?
In a weird way, too.
Piece of shit.
Weird.
That's disgusting.
Why would you say that to somebody who is, one, an accomplice to a pedophile ring, two, she herself a participant in underage, pedophile activity, molestation?
Yeah, disgusting.
I wish her well. What the fuck? And it was weird. It was very measured, and it was very much a way for him to be able to just kind of like throw out a piece of communication out to her. It was so fucking weird. So if there is a block, it is absolutely not by her own attorneys only, accord. It is going to be by the power.
Which there's plenty of other people outside of him
who have associations to him. Wexler, the guy, head of L Brands, which is Victoria's Secret, they still haven't released anything to do with that. And there's still so much odd association to the fact that he sold the biggest penthouse in New York City to Jeffrey Epstein for a fraction of the market value. And they believe very much so that there was something odd going on there. And there's, grapevine claims that supposedly Ghislaine Maxwell was raped by him, supposedly. And there's some kind of claim out there. So we'll see what happens with that.
I think he had a love affair with Jeffrey Epstein.
And that Jeffrey Epstein
That's what I think.
And that Jeffrey Epstein had that information.
I think there's something there. I don't know, sexually. I do think, because it seems like this guy was rather obsessive over Jeffrey, and then he gave him the power over his finances. Something's weird there. I don't know. I don't want to talk about those assholes anymore. I'm so disgusted and tired of it. It's just, I don't know. It's disturbing. There's obviously something much larger at play. Not trying to jump on the conspiracy bandwagon, but I bet they all have Wayfair accounts and they've been purchasing furniture with children in it. I'm sorry, that's not funny.
I'm still not giving to that shit. I think
but there's definitely something larger than what we're seeing at play. Obviously, if the rich and elite are associating themselves with a pedophile and sexual abuser.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out if we find out.
If we do.
Right.
I'm not thinking that we're going to.
I'm not trying to get my hopes up, but at the same time, damn, dude, if you're a victim out there who's been looking for justice for, almost a couple decades at this point, you got to have some hope. So I hope for their sake that there is something there.
Oh, me too. I think it's disgusting what the privileged and rich take advantage of, and this is just another example of that obviously goes very extreme with the pedophilia and the sexual abuse. But of course, I hope those victims can get some justice and closure.
I agree.
Very sad stuff.
Yeah. Well, the Washington Redskins are officially now the Washington football team, which in the U.S., sports franchises typically do not go without some type of mascot. It is common for other sports. Soccer, for instance, often has a straight-up name that just says, for example, like Orlando City Football Club, Manchester United Football Club, Chelsea Football Club. It just has the city, and that's it. No fancy name, no nothing like that. That's typical for soccer. But for the NFL and for baseball, basketball, or anything in the U.S. that is a sports franchise, it's not typical. So it's interesting that they chose Washington Football Club. I get it from a business standpoint that they fucked up, and for years they were being warned that they should change their name, and they didn't do it whenever they had the time to do it. And then now when they got the absolute pressure to do it, they quickly made a change, and they made the path of least resistance and quickly just changed to the Washington Football Club. And they said this isn't the final name. This is just the name as it is now and going into this season. But my favorite part is what the athletes are saying about this social media. LeBron James, he tweeted out saying, "The Washington Football Club, are y'all fucking serious? This was something you guys sat in a boardroom and came up with." I fucking love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Regardless of the fact that, this was a business decision to quickly put a name on it so that way they could start the season, fuck you guys, because you guys had plenty of time. This is a several-year-old story for them to change their name.
Yeah, clearly they didn't give a shit until they absolutely had to. This has been a controversial thing, to your point, for 4 years, probably 5 years,
something like that,
where it's been relevant, where people have made comments. I've heard the commentary, and they clearly didn't. They gave zero fucks, didn't put any time or effort into it, and now that they had to make a quick decision.
Yeah, well,
stupid.
Well, we'll see where that goes from there. I think the next team is the Cleveland Indians. That one is a straight up caricature. Duh. It shows an Indian in the most caricature of ways.
Red-faced Indian.
Yeah, but no, the Cleveland Indians is like the very caricature, big teeth,
Oh, am I thinking of the Braves?
No, you're thinking of the Redskins.
The logo. No, baby. I'm thinking of the logo with the like young Indian with the braids and red face.
Yeah, and unfortunately, big teeth is what
right,
they have.
But baby, red face is the most offensive
thing
out of that. Like,
yeah. But it's an outline. It's not the actual red. There's just an outline of a red face. But yeah, it's not an actual red face. Like the Redskins is like a straight up red, very red face. Even though the picture of who they took it from was an actual real chief, and that individual was just he was tan, but they were really playing on that. But anyway, we'll see how that shit goes. So I think one of the things we'll probably do this is basically the end of the podcast at this point. Thank you guys for listening to our 4th episode. Our social media is usually WNF podcast. So if you guys find us on Facebook,
not usually,
Twitter,
it is.
Oh, it is on all of them. Yeah, actually, I think it is flat out on all of them. WNF podcast is how you'll find our social media. We've got, funny memes and shit like that. The things that we have on top of our mind, preparation for upcoming episodes, and then the release of the episodes whenever they come out. So I hope you guys follow it. That will be a good way to be able to keep up with us.
Please. Yeah, we're trying. We enjoy talking about different topics, and we hope you guys have gotten some enjoyment out of these last couple of episodes. So yeah, please follow us at WNF Podcast on Insta, and you could see our link tree to all of our other social sites. But we really appreciate the listen. It's been a great 4th podcast episode, and cheers to you, my love.
Cheers. My drink's gone, but cheers.
We hope you all have a lovely week.